Welcome back to Math Quest, guys. All right. Now, if you notice here, there's three problems I'm going to be solving for you today. This one, and this one. And the reason I have all three out here for you is that some of you may already have an idea how to solve these, or you already know how to solve some of them. But when they look a little different, you may not know how. So you can skip forward to the video, to that part, to see how that problem is solved. But if you don't know how any of these are solved, well, no problem. Stay tuned, because we're about to get started. All right, let me grab a pencil here. Let's get started with the first one. 3x squared minus 2x minus 5. Now, in previous videos, I told you that this coefficient was a, this coefficient was b, and this constant was c. So I'm going to start this off by multiplying a times c, which gives me negative 15. Now I need two factors of negative 15 that are going to add up to my middle number, which is negative 2. So 3 times negative 5. 3 times negative 5 gives me negative 15, and if I add them up, they give me negative 2. So let's set them up. Now, to start off, I'm going to get my a, which is 3x squared, and put it in here. Then I'm just going to pick my first number here and put it in there. I can pick either one, it doesn't matter. So I'm just going to pick the first one, 3. That's a positive 3. So this is going to be plus 3x. Why I said an x? Because remember, these two equal to the center, which is a negative 2x. So there's my 3x. Now all of this is going to be added to this other binomial, which is my negative 5x. And this negative 5 is just going to come down, minus 5. All right. So that's how we get started. Now, let's start to factor them. Let's take the first binomial and pull out a common factor out of here. So what can we pull out of this one? So it looks like we have 3x squared plus 3x. So I can pull out a 3x from each one. And I'm left with x plus 1. Bring down my plus sign. Then on this second term, what can I pull out? Obviously, I can pull out a negative 5. So I'm going to pull out negative 5. Inside, we're left with x plus 1. Why I said plus 1? Well, it's plus 1 because a positive 1 times a negative 5 that I pull out equals negative 5. If I did minus 1, then that would mean that negative 1 times negative 5, that would give me a positive 5. That would not work out. At this point, what I want you to notice is that I have here x plus 1 and x plus 1 on my other one. So I'm on the right track. I'm pretty much done. Now I got to set up my two binomials that I'm going to set up equal to 0 to finally solve. So I take this value here, the 3x, and I take my other outside value, which is minus 5, and that's going to be multiplied times x plus 1. Since they're both being multiplied here by x plus 1 and here by x plus 1, here I can gather them and multiply them both times x plus 1. Okay? Now, at this point, I'm going to use the zero product property to solve this, which basically means that I have to have this equal to 0. In order for this to equal 0, either this has to equal 0, or this has to equal 0, or both of them have to equal 0 for this to be equal to 0. So, let me scroll up a bit. Here, on this first one, basically, 3x minus 5 equals 0. And then x plus 1 equals 0. So on this one, it's just a one step. You know that x equals negative 1. Or this one here, which is 3x equals 5. Divide both sides by 3, and x equals 5 over 3. So here are my two answers. It's 5/3, x equals 5/3, or it equals negative 1. All right, let's go to our next one. Okay, now on this one, for some reason, it is rather simple, but for some people it seems a little bit more complicated because it doesn't look like the traditional ones, like the two binomials being multiplied together. So let's just take it step by step here. Let's take a look at the first one, 2x. Well, notice that already some of the work has been done. So we have the 2x. I'm just going to take the 2x and make it equal to 0. And then I take the x plus 6 and make it equal to 0. So in this case, I'm going to divide both sides by 2, which means that if I do this, well, 0 divided by 2 equals 0. This equals 1x, so x equals 0. And this one, of course, you know that x equals negative 6. And at this point, you're done. Okay? Now, let me show you real quick. So you don't have to go through this whole process every time of solving these. Look at this first one, 2x times x plus 6. If I take the 2x, I ask myself, well, I know that this has to equal 0. One of these have to equal 0, or both of them can equal 0. So 2x, what does 2 have to multiply by to equal 0? Well, that would be 0, right? X equals 0. Well, yes, it did. Now, let's take a look at this one, x plus 6. Well, what do I have to add? What number can I add 6 to so I can get 0? Well, if I put in here a negative 6, it's going to equal 0. And yes, it did equal 0. Okay? So ask yourself those logical questions, because a lot of times you don't have to go through all this work. You can just look at it and solve it right off the bat. All right? Hope that helps you out. Let's do the last one. Here we go. All right, let's take a look at this last one here. First of all, if you look at this particular problem here, we have this binomial subtracting this other binomial. But notice there's a 3 out on here. Basically, what that means is they already begun to factor this. They pulled a 3 out of that binomial x plus 4. Here, if I couldn't factor this, then I'd probably put it back in. But in this case, I see that I can factor the first one. I can pull out an x out of each one. So let's continue from there. So think of it as someone already starting a problem and left it here. But since you're the master here at solving these polynomials, you're going to finish it for them. So let's pull out of x, and we're left with x plus 4. And here, again, I'm just going to rewrite it so you can clearly see what we have left. Hey, look at that. I have x plus 4 here, x plus 4 here. So x and negative 3 are being multiplied times x plus 4. So those outside constants, I'm just going to write them here, the x or the variable and the constant here. X minus 3 times x plus 4. Simple enough. Now, I know that this has to equal 0 because that's what I'm doing today. I'm using the 0 product property to solve these. So x minus 3 equals 0. X plus 4 equals 0. So what will make this equal 0? Obviously, 3. But we can go ahead and just write it in here. And x equals negative 4. So there you have it, your two solutions. We looked at this problem that looked really complicated, but really, once you understand the steps, you see that it's not that complicated. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope this made it so much easier for you to understand, and I hope that I'm helping you out as you continue on your math quest. See you next time. Bye-bye.